Broadcasting live from the Roanoke Valley of southwestern Virginia. Join us and see what life looks like from a medium's perspective with Reverend Tracey Lockwood, the medium's medium. We'll explore the tools of psychic development, hear stories and experiences from the other side, and learn to listen to our natural intuition. Now, our host, Reverend Tracey Lockwood.
Hello, beautiful lights, and welcome to another episode of From a Medium's Perspective. Before we get going with today's absolutely delightful guest, I wanted to let you know that I am offering a 12-week training and certification program that gives certifications at 3 levels of practice depending on your performance when you are done. Also, I'm offering a psychic development series, 4 weeks long, taught twice a year, also spirit art, also advanced mediumship, and channeling. Each of them are a 4-week course, each taught twice a year. And I'm going, starting in July 2018, going to be offering a kids series of psychic development and mediumship development classes, also 4 weeks long. So check out my website at mediumtracylockwood.com. Go to the training page and see what I've got going for you. And I still offer private readings as well. So give me a holla. All right. Well, today I am so tickled to have this guest with me. She is a really multifaceted practitioner, and I'll be telling you a little bit about her right now. She is a shamanic soul activator and a psychic priestess. I know you're all curious, like, what? Psychic priestess? What? Shamanic soul activator? She utilizes multidimensional healing frequencies and does DNA activations and shamanism. And she works with people to affect them on their cellular, energetic, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional bodies. And she was born in the Philippines, but moved to Papua New Guinea, which I was so tickled when I heard, because I have a spirit guide named Harambe that is from Papua New Guinea. And then she lived in Australia for a while, and she now resides in Hawaii with her husband, Channel Daniel Scranton, who we've had on the show a couple of times. So I am just beyond ecstatic to introduce to you Maricris Dominique Dela Cruz-Scranton. Welcome, Maricris.
Hi, Tracey. Thank you for having me on the show.
I'm so happy you're here. I wanted to tell our listeners before we get going into our talk about your website. I love the name of it. It's activatedivinelove.com. activatedivinelove.com. So those of you out there that want to snoop around and check out Maricris in the process, you can do that at activatedivinelove.com. So, Maricris, the first question I want to ask you, because the show is called From a Medium's Perspective, is how has doing your work changed your perspective?
Oh, what a beautiful question, Tracey, because the work that I'm doing has really shifted my perspective on life. It's really opened up my intuitive and psychic abilities, and it's allowed me to really step out into the world in a much different way. So the way that it's really helped me is that it's supported me to be my most authentic self and to speak my truth and to share my message with the world in a very confident and bold way.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I wanted to ask you, because I know people are curious, you know, the terminology is so important with what we do. And I find it that, you know, there's a disconnect between, say, the Christian terminology and the current terminology for psychics and mediums. You know, tongues and interpretation is channeling, a word of wisdom is psychic ability, discerning of spirits is mediumship. But it, you know, really words have a lot of power. And I, you know, thought when I began promoting the fact that I do what I do, you know, what language would I use to do that? And for me, the most expeditious was just to stay plain and basic and use psychic medium. But I did think about some other ways of trying to explain that. So tell us a little bit first, because it sounds like your healing led to your psychic ability, and I know also you're a channeler too. So tell us a little bit about what Shamanic Soul Activator, why you chose that name, and how that plays out in your practice.
So the reason why I chose Shamanic Soul Activator, and it's a very powerful name, even as you say it, and then as I say it, I just really feel the energy behind it. So the reason I chose that is because I mean, shamanism is the modality that I started with when I really opened up my gifts. So I love shamanism. I love what it stands for, and it's very holistic, I feel. The way that I use shamanism is very holistic. So hence the shamanic part. And then the soul activator is because I do DNA activations, I wanted to incorporate that in my name. But I didn't want to just focus on the person's DNA. I also wanted to focus on a very holistic background. So that when I brought in the soul activator, it really captured for me, you know, what I do with my clients. So when I say soul activations, it's really getting to the truth of what a person is experiencing, you know, releasing their blocks, releasing any limitations, and then activating them to the highest vibration and their highest potential. So that's the reason why I called myself that, because I really connect with the essence of activating ourselves to, you know, that vibration, which is our pure essence, and that is love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so same question, why psychic priestess?
Well, this one I played around with this one a little bit. I first started out as a medical intuitive, actually. And what happened was as time went by and as my gifts evolved, it evolved to a medical psychic. But then that kind of pigeonholed me a little bit to, you know, just working with people with physical symptoms and using my psychic work as well. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to capture really in a holistic sense again, like the medical psychic part, but also like the priestess energy, which is a very it's a very olden day kind of healer, but it also brings in the shamanic side, if that makes sense, Tracey.
Yeah, it does completely. And it's fun too. And it suits your personality too. It's lovely. It's very sweet. So, so when you were studying shamanism, what stood out to you in that process of developing your shamanic aspects?
So when I first started out on my journey and I read about shamanism, it was very, there were parts of shamanism that was very masculine, and it was very, I use the word harsh lightly, but it can come across as very abrupt when I first read about shamanism. So I actually met a lady, and she's got a Hawaiian and North American background, and she lived in Australia. And when I connected with her, I found out that she's teaching shamanism. And when I connected with her, the way that I kind of connected to what she was teaching was that it was very feminine, it was very soft, but it also had the very masculine aspects of shamanism. So that's why I think that's one of the reasons that drew me to connecting with her and learning through her was that the shamanic teaching was very balanced in the
I was just going to say balance, like a balance. And, you know, don't you find that people that are in this type of work, either in energy healing or in psychic mediumship, don't you find that they tend to have a more equal balance of masculine and feminine characteristics?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, you know, that is what, you know, the way that we're moving and the way that the people are shifting now is that everyone's kind of moving towards that balance of feminine and masculine. You know, it's no longer just you got to use your masculine, you got to do, or the feminine of just being, but it's like bringing those two parts of yourself together to actually create something even better as you move forward on your journey.
Yeah. And when I say that, obviously we're not talking about sexuality. Sexuality spans the rainbow there, but just in terms of energy balance and, you know, old traditions talking about Kundalini awakening or, you know, the balance of masculine, feminine in people that are used for spiritual edification, you know, shamans, healers, psychics, mediums, prophets, you know, having that kind of balance. And I think that the balance is really important for those of us that work in the field, not only in terms of being able to see and tap into both aspects, but also in terms of our self-care too. And we might talk on that in a little bit too, but I want to talk about some of the other things. So I guess I wanted to ask about the soul activation, which you said is linked to the DNA activation. There's a lady locally here that teaches that, and well, actually, I think she passed, but I'm sure there is someone. And I've heard of it, but I've never taken a course in it or learned about that. Tell us a little bit about DNA activation.
So what the DNA activation does is that it connects to the DNA strands within a person, and it really opens and awakens and kind of illuminates, you know, the parts of their DNA that was kind of shut down or closed off. And it really helps to open and activate the parts of the DNA within the person so that they can really, you know, open up to their highest potential. And when I say highest potential, what comes forward really strongly is that, you know, it really helps people to, one, connect with their soul's purpose, to really align with, you know, what they're here to do on the planet. It awakens within a person, you know, past lives where they were, you know, they might have been a psychic, or they might have been, you know, a powerful intuitive or a wizard, or, you know, whatever it was in a past life. It helps to awaken, you know, those parts of themselves so that they can tune into their own abilities, so that they can, you know, tune into what they want to share with the world and what's calling them.
Yeah. And then with the psychic work, you said that, you know, you kind of, as you worked with energy, it started opening up these other, to pun a term on purpose, channels there. Tell us a little bit about that process for you. Did you study psychic or mediumship development or channeling, or tell us how that evolved? Okay, so the way that my gifts evolved is that I only really studied shamanism. I studied with a teacher to really open up, you know, and to awaken and that part of me and to kind of reignite it, because I always knew that it was there, but I needed someone to support me to open it up and to help me to see that it was actually there. So that's the only part that I studied in. I studied for over 3 years with a shamanic practitioner. And that was in Australia, the woman that you mentioned, yes? Correct. Yeah, she was in Australia. And then, so the mediumship side just came through the more that I delved deeper into my shamanic work and
shamanic healing as well. So the mediumship, the channeling, that kind of opened up with my shamanic abilities. And then I also, before I got into the DNA activations, I that's also another place that I studied was the DNA activations. Sure. And because I myself got activated, and then in that moment when I felt, you know, the shifts and the transformations through my own DNA activations, I knew within me that I had to, you know, get trained in that modality as well, and use that to help people.
Yeah. What other modalities have you studied? Because I know you incorporate a great number of them in how you treat people and work with them. Tell us a little bit more.
So what I do is I do DNA activations, I do past life regressions, I do ancestral healings and ancestral imprints, I do medical psychic work. So I work with, I do psychic surgery, and then I also work with energy.
Yeah. Two things I want to ask about that. Ancestral imprints. I know when I'm doing readings for people, sometimes people will come through with what I call a generational apology or a connection for a gift that someone has, either traumatic or the opposite, you know, enlightening. And you can kind of feel that line that goes back through multiple generations to that person. When you talk about ancestral imprints, what are you referring to? What's your interpretation or way of working with that? Yeah.
So with the ancestral imprints, it's kind of similar to what you expressed earlier, and the work that I do just goes deeper into anything that could have been passed down generationally. So 5 generations, 10 generations, and it's also anything that could have been passed down from their mother or their father. You know, something as close as that. So it doesn't have to be like 10 generations. It can be as close as, you know, their mother, their father, or even their grandparents. And it's really working to release anything within them and within their DNA where they've held on to, you know, behaviors or patterns or belief systems from their parents or from their parents' parents, or, you know, from uncles, aunts, you know, 10 generations ago. So that's really what I do, because I found that when I work with people with ancestral imprints, what comes forward really strongly is that, you know, people are holding on to something that isn't theirs. It's something that, you know, has been passed down from their mother or their father, and they're holding on to it, and it's affecting how they're relating to people in this life.
Yes, I can understand that. I see that sometimes where, for instance, someone in the present might have difficulty with manifestation or abundance, or even finding love in life. And it has to do maybe because they're a higher vibrational soul, or because they're very pure-hearted, sort of submitting to the expectations and the preset ideologies that came from either parents, grandparents, etc. And a lot of times people, I'm sure you find this, are not aware that they're even catering to those viewpoints. You know, they might not even define themselves as a person who has that particular restriction. But then once the connection is divulged, then it, you know, makes it easier for them to go, oh my God, I just didn't even realize. Would you give us an example of maybe how that worked with a client of yours, without, of course, discussing their name, you know, just as a case study?
So one of my clients, she was experiencing, you know, massive pain in her knee. And so what I did was, when I tuned into that, what kept coming through was something from her mother's side. And not being able to kind of move forward with that very soft feminine energy. So what she kind of learned was that you had to be in that space of doing and forcing and trying to make things happen. And there was no flexibility in what she was trying to create moving forward. So then it started to show up in her knee. And to the point where, you know, this person was about to have a knee surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when she connected with me, just kind of like lost all hope of, you know, basically ever walking again. And when we did that healing, and that was just a part of it, the ancestral imprints. But when we did the healing, and after just that one session, she was walking around in her kitchen and just feeling so excited at the prospect of, hey, you know, this stuff heals. Like I can actually work with a practitioner to heal what's going on a much deeper level, and not just kind of, you know, think about, oh, I need to find temporary relief through the doctor, or, you know. And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying that don't go to the doctor or they don't have a place, but, you know, Western medicine certainly has a place in all of this. I just, you know, my thing is that, you know, always check in with yourself, you know, check into where you can actually heal, you know, first through natural processes before you actually, you know, go get that operation or take that medication.
Yes, yes. I don't know if you find this, but for me, in the process of working with clients,
Mm-hmm.
there are parts and aspects of myself that also get healed along the way. Do you find that as well?
Absolutely, Tracy. I think that that's one of the most powerful things about, you know, the work that I do, and I'm sure the work that you do, is because when I work with clients, it's like when their stuff comes up, it's some of my things come up too, to get healed, to actually be brought to the surface. And I actually find that before I connect with clients, it's either like the night before or 2 days before, I'm already tuning into their stuff, which is coming out through me.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, we're very empathic, yes. So, you know, you do combine a lot of modalities together. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for some of our listeners, the terminologies that you're explaining are new, and mm-hmm. others have some awareness of that. I know there's no typical session because people come for so many different things.
Yes.
But do you have sort of a process that you go through preparing for your session and then moving through your session and anything afterwards either?
So before I connect with a client, I'm always, I make sure that I prepare my space, that, you know, everything is kind of clear and open. And what I do is I call in the, you know, the healers of the highest, you know, Christ consciousness, my divine team, the divine team of my client. So I make sure that that's already set in place before I connect with them. And, you know, like I said to you, before I connect with my clients, I'm already tuning in. So I've had people come on their first session with me, and they'll say, oh, I already felt the healing. Were you doing something? You know, so, you know, oftentimes, you know, I'm doing things in my sleep. I'm you know, traveling, doing astral traveling and connecting with my clients, doing the healing work in the ethereal realms, even before I connect with them. So basically I prepare the space, and that's all of that is already in place. And then when I connect with my clients, I always start my sessions with a meditation to make sure that they're grounded, to make sure that they're open and receptive to whatever healing needs to come forward.
Oh, nice.
And then once I've taken them through the meditation, and actually while I'm taking them through the meditation, I'm also checking in with their, you know, energetic bodies. I'm looking at their chakras, you know, just
Yes.
do a quick scan of, what's going on for them before we actually speak and talk about the session. And then once that's done, then I do the session with the client, and then I kind of tune into whatever's coming up for them. So we really go deep into, is it, a past life? Is it something from your ancestors? Is it an old belief system that you're holding? Or is it some emotional pain that's getting stuck in your body that's creating this physical pain? So then I do the session with the client and really, decipher what's going on below the surface or any, deep-seated issues. And then after we do that, I do an activation. So I make sure, once we've released everything in the session, I do an activation to activate, new belief systems, new patterns, new behaviors.
Yeah, when you say activation, again, some of our listeners more familiar, less familiar with terminology. So tell our listeners about activation, what that exactly is.
Okay, so what that is that I've been given codes from spirit or source, whatever people connect with more. But I've been given codes from spirit. And these codes are what I use to go into the person's body, and I put those codes in wherever it's needed, and then I kind of activate. So activate is like turning on a light bulb, basically. So I turn on the light bulb within their system and kind of open it up so that, the person can feel the shifts not only on an energetic level, but feel it on a cellular, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level. So it's very holistic when I do that.
Yes. Yeah. I can relate to that. I think in teaching that I tell my students that we learn energetically from each other too. And so what's being spoken is not even the tip of the iceberg of what's being conveyed. And it sounds like that's what you're doing with them, is that energetic shift. I've seen beings work on other people too. I had one client that was came to me several years ago, and I could see an angel, a Morpheus, with her, and he was not part of her entourage. He had come similar to like a copy repairman or something like that, to tweak the energies within her body. And I could see him like opening energy channels and putting light here and making connections. It was kind of and so it reminded me of that you're doing a similar work for your clients to open those channels so that they can be more complete in their experience of life. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And also Tracey, what happens is that, so when I work with clients, like sometimes their souls are fragmented, like if they've had a bad experience in their childhood, or if something's happened, say 2 days ago, like the fragments of their soul gets left behind in all these different experiences. So what I also do is bring all of those parts back together so that the person can feel whole again. So they're not feeling like they've left a part of them, in their childhood, or they've left a part of them in a traumatic experience, say 2 weeks ago, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I'm on board. Yeah, that's really good. I guess first, do you close your sessions after you've done that with an activation with your client? Where do you go from there in your sessions?
So what I do is after I've done the activation, I have a little chat with the client to see if anything's come up, or to see if there's something else that they might have experienced through that activation, because more often than not, like there's something that comes forward, the client will say to me, oh my God, I just, I saw this amazing like portal above my head, or, they'll share with me experiences like that.
Yes.
I allow them the space to share what's coming through, to just so that they know that, hey, you know, this is a natural part of the process. This is normal. You know, they're not going crazy.
Right. They're not imagining things.
Exactly. It's not just some crazy thing that's coming through, but I give them that space. And then once they've shared that with me, and then I tune into any last guidance or anything else that needs to come forward for them. Once that's done, then I close the session, and then I kind of share with the client any steps, any action steps that they need to do for their mind, their body, their heart, and their soul to continue to integrate the healing, to allow for it to, you know, assimilate with more ease and grace.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Do you do anything post-session for you?
Yes, I do. So self-care is actually, it's very important for me. I'm because we have like this huge yard where we live. So I'm on the grass. I'm putting my feet on the ground after our session. I'm making sure I'm clearing. I sometimes use sage to clear my space, you know, like to burn some sage to clear
reset. Yep.
Correct. And then I have a beautiful clearing cleansing spray, which is made up of different essential oils. So then I spray that in my room. But one of the biggest things that I do is just to really go out, you know, onto the earth, put my feet on the ground, really connect and tune into Mother Earth. And then, you know, I ask my guides as well to kind of clear the space and realign me back to the highest vibration of love and light.
Yeah. What other things do you think are important for people, just briefly, on self-care as a sensitive, intuitive healer, medium? What would you advise people?
So from my own experience, what I found that works really well is taking salt baths, so with Himalayan salt or sea salt, and then, you know, putting essential oils, whatever they feel guided to. But I normally use lavender and frankincense, and if I have rose, I'll use rose. But I found that having baths are really, really important in kind of clearing the energy and to make to help you be relaxed as well, because very often as intuitives, you know, we're kind of like on the go, we're tuning in, and we're kind of always turned on and tuned in.
Yeah. And for those of you that didn't catch that, that's Bach as in Bach flower essences. Yes. And also just normal essential oils. Yes. Yeah. Going back to some of the different modalities, tell us a little bit about channeling and how that began in your practice.
So I was already So when I started my shamanic work with the shamanic practitioner, my channeling abilities were already kind of opening up. So I would channel for myself. And at first when it started, when my voice started to change, because when I channel, my voice changes. So when I started to channel, I was thinking that I was a little crazy. Like I was thinking, hang on, what is this? Like, why is my voice changing? Is this like, because I grew up in a strong Catholic background. So my Catholic upbringing, with my Catholic upbringing, that kind of like was alarm bells in my head. Like, oh my God, this is some.
Am I possessed? What's the deal? Right.
Exactly. Am I possessed? What's happening? So when it started, I was like, oh, this is weird. I don't know what this is. But then once I started to open up to that more, I started to I started getting emails from people who were channeling as well. And then I would hear them channeling and their voices would change. And I'm like, okay, so this is actually.
It's a thing. Yes.
It's real.
Yeah, for our listeners, if you don't know, the difference between channeling and possession is by the vibration of the entity that comes through. If it is possession, it's a lower vibrational entity that's trying to hostilely take over somebody's will and personal boundaries in order to just basically because they're too lazy to reincarnate on their own, utilize an available body. But channeling is by the higher vibrational frequencies. Those messages are always of love and light, encouragement, empowerment, and they're very true in vibration. And it's allowing the vehicle for that, the person that's being used by the higher beings, is also allowing that to flow through them, whether through writing, through speaking, through symbols. You said that you were given some symbols for your healing, or directly through spirit too. That's incredible and beautiful.
Yeah. It's really amazing, when you're actually open and when you're allowing yourself to be in that state of receptivity, what actually comes forward. And I just want to say, Tracey, when you were talking about the self-care, that part or that aspect of being an intuitive and an empath, that's really important. And people really need to, embrace kind of that part, because people think that, we've got a lot of energy and I'm going to go out there, I'm going to support people. And that's all well and good. But because we have this physical body, and this physical body is a vessel for our spirit, the self-care is so important. So, as I said to you, taking a bath, putting your feet on the ground, connecting to Mother Earth, making sure that, you're always clearing and cleansing your space so that you're of a high energy or a clear energy when you're connecting with other people. And also ensuring that you're eating and drinking, food and drinks that are kind of are organic, for one, but also one that feels good for you. Because when I share this, it's not a one size fits all. It's not you should do this or you should do that. But these are just simple things that people do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And not neglecting the basics, as you mentioned, of what you put in your body, whether you rest your body, whether you give yourself uncommitted downtime so that you don't have to be needed by someone else. That energy that goes out has to have energy come back. So it is reciprocal. So it is balanced. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Tell me what your first encounter or energy experience or phenomenal experience or connection to the other worlds, what was your first memory of something being beyond what most other people were talking about?
So my first memory was when I was 12 and I was lying in bed, and as I said to you, I grew up in a strong Catholic family. So, like when you're talking about spirits and energy healing, all of that kind of seems like woo-woo and too out there for people, especially the way that I grew up. So when I was 12, I was actually lying in bed, and I remember in that space kind of like knowing that I was in that space at 12 years old. I knew that I was made for more. Kind of like, it was like something within me was calling me at 12. And I was like, I don't know what this is, God, is that you? Is that the God that I've been taught, up there kind of thing? So I was lying in bed one time, and I experienced like this spirit just coming into my room. And as a kid, I was very scared of ghosts or spirits or seeing any of that. Like you were just taught to fear those things. So at 12, I was like, oh my God, I was lying in bed thinking this thing came through, but I wasn't feeling fear. Like it was almost this sense of like, oh wow, like it was a supportive, loving energy.
Yeah.
It just came into my bedroom and was just kind of like caressing me, like this beautiful, like it looked like an angel, but no wings. It's kind of like this beautiful energy coming into my bedroom, and I could see like it was like a physical manifestation of like an angel or a guide in my bedroom, and it was just like kind of caressing me and telling me that everything's going to be okay, you're here for a purpose. And I remember that morning I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, what was that? Was that my mom? Who was that? And I remember telling my friends in school, And they're like, no, that's not real. Those things don't happen, blah, 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 you know, like telling me that I was crazy. But I kind of knew in that moment that, hey, these things are real.
Yes, because we know it at a very
Yes.
deep level.
Mhm.
Yes. And I think that's why someone who comes to us, to you, to me,
Mhm.
to others that are practicing, if they're a little bit skeptical, if they'll just allow themselves to experience it and kind of roll with it, flow with it, they'll find that it's a very profound, very real experience. It's not just shaking some rattles over someone in your case, and it's not, some kind of like, weird trance like
Mhm.
see dead people thing like I do kind of thing. It's a very authentic connection with the deepest parts of people.
Yeah. And Tracy, I have to also say, my dear, when you're talking about people who are skeptical, I remember probably in my 20s, early 20s, when I first went to a psychic spiritual healer. And when I first went to her, I was with my ex-boyfriend at that time, and he was the one who kind of helped me to open up to all of these things too. And when I first went to the psychic healer, I said to him, "Don't tell anybody that I'm going here." Like
it's a walk of shame.
Yeah. Nobody needs to know about this. I'm going because I think that, there's something in there for me, but don't tell anybody. So I know that feeling. I know the feeling of like, is this really going to work? Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to literally shake, like, is it going to be rattles, and are they going to be pouring water over me?
Uh-huh.
Kind of tense for me.
Right. You said that you studied for 3 years in shamanic practice. What were some of the things, if you'd share with us, maybe an exercise or something that was maybe meaningful to you and helpful in sort of connecting the dots for you as somebody who works in that dimension?
Mm-hmm. So what I found, Tracy, with shamanism that was very powerful for me, and this exercise that I'm going to share with the listeners, the reason why I feel like this is going to be so powerful is because, we often think that, connecting to the higher realms, like we have to just get there straight away. Like it's something like, okay, you turn it on and it's there. But what I feel is necessary, like the first step before, if people want to open up to their intuitive gifts, if they want to connect to the other dimensions, the first step is to really open their heart. So I'm going to share a very simple yet powerful heart opening meditation. And it's one that I use in my life currently. And it's one that I used during my shamanic practice when I was learning. So I feel like this will really help people to, access that part of them that they may have shut down or they may have turned off.
Go for it.
Okay, perfect. So for the listeners that are here, if you could just close your eyes for me and just putting your left hand on your heart and your right hand on top of that, and just breathing in through your nose into your heart and then out through your nose. So breathing in through your nose, into your heart, and then out through your nose. And then just focusing only on your breathing in through your nose, into your heart, and then out through your nose. And just focusing on that nostril breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. And this nostril breathing will help to activate your nervous system, to open up your nervous system. It'll bring your awareness into this present moment, and it will really help you to be grounded and open up to the energy of your heart. So as you're breathing into your heart, you're going to see a beautiful golden white light in front of your heart space. So as you see this beautiful golden white light in front of your heart, I want you just to breathe in that white light. Breathe it into your heart breathe it into your whole body and just feel your whole body filling up with this golden white light. And as you feel your whole body opening and feeling yourself attuning to this golden white light, filled with this golden white light in your body, you're going to feel yourself connecting to that part of you that knows, that understands, that remembers that you are here for a purpose, that you are here with a message, that you are here to do great work on this planet. So just feeling that right now, feeling yourself filled with this golden white light. And you're going to see this golden white light expanding out 360 degrees all around you. Just feeling this golden white light. And as you feel this golden white light all around you, this has created a beautiful and powerful healing energetic grid around you. So just feeling the essence of this white light emanating out into your world. And as you feel that white light in your heart now, so just tuning back into your heart, as you feel that light in your heart, you're going to tune into a message that your heart has for you today. So just feeling that message, allowing it to come forward, whatever it is. It could be a word, it could be a feeling, it could be a color. Just allow the message to come from your heart. And as you feel that message, as you trust that whatever came through for you, know that that is perfect. And just slowly come back. Slowly bring your awareness back into your physical body. And just feeling and just visualizing roots at your feet. So imagine roots at your feet from Mother Earth, just connecting to the soles of your feet. And what this does is it allows you to be grounded, it allows you to be connected to the earth, and it allows you to bring in that healing energy from the highest. Just allows that energy to come forward and allows it to be felt on a physical level. And just gently opening your eyes.
Oh, so beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Tracey.
So beautiful. Maricris Dominique Dela Cruz-Scranton, you have been a pleasure. I love your energy. You feel like an elusive elemental, and it feels somewhat magical to have your focus and energy on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracey. It's been such an honor and a privilege to connect with all of your listeners, and it's been wonderful to connect with you and to, be able to connect with someone who is also, on the same path and sharing their truth, sharing their message with the world. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So much. For our listeners, if you want to reach Maricris, please visit her website at activatedivinelove.com, a perfectly beautiful name, activatedivinelove.com. And I did prepare a reading for you, our listeners, today. This is a Diwali sort of prayer or celebration. It's a message of self-enlightenment. And it goes like this. O cosmic power, ignite our spirits for purposeful mission. Inject positive energy in our brains. Transmit divine virtues in our attitudes. Transform inner self on the path to self-enlightenment. O infinite intelligence, supercharge the light of knowledge in our hearts. Circulate the wave of creativity in our minds. Stabilize thy adorable glory in our consciousnesses. Spread thy glorious radiance on our bodies. O super consciousness, pour purity of knowledge in our thoughts, lead our deeds towards self-realization, equalize our frequencies of souls with thy superpower, super soul, for attaining perfect connection of resonance and bliss. O eternal love, inspire us for structuring an architect of character, supercharge high intensive love in all our actions, illuminate our life with glare, grace, and grandeur, generate rays of happiness in our family matrix. And I just want to wish our listeners well. Please feel free to contact Maricris at activatedivinelove.com, and feel free to contact me. My website is mediumtracylockwood.com. And I just wanted to remind everyone that you do make a difference in this world, that nothing would be the same without you here. And if you're feeling challenged by life, if you're feeling like your energy is dimming and you don't feel that you are able to shine the way that you want, fill yourself with positive things. Listen to gentle music. Listen to meditations that are guided. Seek out the counsel of someone who can be helpful to you, and that it can meet you in a loving space like Maricris there. Thank you again, Maricris. I'm just so happy that you were on the show.
Thank you.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
And thank you, Tracey.
You are so welcome. So I just hope that everyone has enjoyed the show today. I certainly did. And I want to thank you for joining us. If you would like to reach Maricris, again, her website is activatedivinelove.com. If you'd like to reach me, mediumtracylockwood.com. We will see you next week for another episode of From a Medium's Perspective. And remember, it's never inappropriate to be kind, and without integrity, you have nothing.